possible so you guys can go out and do your job. So my biggest topic today is just you guys, look for us for teamwork and communication. We're here to bounce questions off, situations, things like that. Use us as a resource at all times. And please call us anytime, any day. We're always here for you guys to support you guys in the field.
Excellent. Thank you so much, John. We so appreciate having you here. It's good to see you this morning.
Thank you.
All righty, a couple of quick announcements for you this morning. 11 o'clock today, we have our Command Users Group. That's typically on Thursdays, if you remember, but we have Harrison Beecher tomorrow. More on that in a second. So we do have Command Users Group at 11 o'clock today. Debbie's going to be focusing you on, she broadcasted as smart plans and landing pages. Here's what she's really focusing you on today. Opportunities to capture clients at open houses and elsewhere, right? So plug in at 11 o'clock today and work with Debbie to see how you can use those tools inside of Command to capture more clients. She's doing really awesome things with those two tools working together and wants to show you exactly how to use them. So 11 o'clock today. And then tomorrow at 10, we do have Harrison Beecher coming back. Steve, do you want to just give a quick 30 seconds on Harrison Beecher for tomorrow?
Sure. So you've all seen the email. Some of you saw Harrison Beecher on this call a while ago. Harrison's out of the Washington, D.C. area. His group, the coalition team, I forget the exact name. I'm sorry. I apologize. Did you say something, Rick?
I think it's the coalition group.
Coalition group, right? That's what I thought. And they're massive, closed hundreds of buyers. Yep, hundreds of buyers. So he's bringing his buyer mastery class to us tomorrow. It's going to be 10 o'clock to probably 11:30. And he is taking this on tour. He is presenting this on Zoom around the country to Keller Williams offices. So we're lucky to have him. So don't miss it tomorrow. Put it on your schedule, 10 o'clock.
There we go. Perfect, perfect, perfect. Whether you have one buyer you'll close this year or 100 yourself, there's a lot to learn from Harrison tomorrow. So do plug in and make sure that you are there. And then after Harrison finishes tomorrow, 1 o'clock tomorrow, we do have our last live concierge training. So if you haven't plugged into the 3 that have been offered previous to this, do plug in tomorrow at 1 o'clock so that we can get you up to speed on utilizing our listing upload service as well as our compliance document management services. So that's tomorrow at 1 o'clock. I want to say thank you so much to the nearly 100 people who showed up for the investor seminar last night. We had a great time. I just finished answering questions about 30 minutes ago, so I'm a little weary. So cut me some slack this morning. What was so awesome was that even after we finished at 8:30, which was 15 minutes later than we expected to go, there were people who had additional questions to really kind of dig into this topic for another 20 or so minutes. So it was really spectacular, and I so appreciate the support of all of you to not only be on the call but bring your clients. Anybody have any thoughts or feedback from last night? Anybody have client interest from last night that you want to quickly share? Yeah, Silva.
I had 5 clients who attended, and some of them are savvy investors with multiple properties, some future clients. This Jay that you spoke to him, I haven't even met him, and he was already at the table with you, and I'm going to do business with him. All of them thanked me for inviting them. Adnan was one of them. It was amazing. Rick, thank you so much.
Yeah, no, it's my pleasure. It's my pleasure. And guys, the reason we do this is so that you don't necessarily have to. You can just leverage me and leverage the Market Center to communicate that information to your clients, and then you get to go sell them a house, right? So keep plugging in on that. Anybody else from last night? Any feedback or guests that you had? Kim Tromba?
Hey, Rick. Yeah, it was awesome. We had 2 clients new to the whole investment situation. Both of them immediately reached out to me afterwards and were just so blown away with the information and so thankful to your time, and have asked me for your lease, your follow-up sheet, the book, like they're all in. So thank you. It was hugely helpful.
Oh, that's awesome. So I'm loving to hear that people are actually reaching out and saying, hey, you know what? I want to buy a house. I want to buy a house. Again, that's the reason we do this. Diane, go ahead.
So I had 3 people on. One is an investor and he loved it. The other 2 are investors, but they also want to become agents. So profit share, yay.
Nice. There's a whole nother spin on it, right? So thank you. And so thank you certainly to the 3 of you and to everyone else who invited your database. I'm happy to do that. I thought this morning, Debbie asked me to be a guest on a version that she did just for her database a couple of weeks ago. And that worked really well as well. And so I want to offer to you that if you're doing something that you're going to produce and you're going to be the main kind of key speaker there for your own database, and you want to use me as like an interview guest to just kind of mix it up a bit, I'm happy to do that for each of you as well. If you want to pair up and do something together, even better. So utilize the tools that we have, and let's continue to turn our databases into investors. I really do honestly believe that sharing this information, me to you, you to your clients, and then your clients back to the people in their worlds, all of us to our children, it's the way to change the balance of wealth in this country, right? If everyone understands how to move this forward and buy another investment property, right? 80% of the country's wealth is tied up where? In real estate, right? And so let's help people, starting with you, unlock the power of that, because it changes the conversation. And I really truly believe that that's one of the ways that we can contribute to changing the world, is to help people understand the path towards wealth using a vehicle that we play in every single day. So again, thank you for all that power and energy that you guys supplied to me last night. I appreciate all of it, and I'm glad to hear that it was useful to you. All righty, so let's dive in. I do have a top 10 list for you this morning, just because, like David Letterman, I enjoy doing things in top 10 lists. So my top 10 list for you this morning, it is the 24th of March, which means in just a couple of weeks, it will be April 15th. And April 15th, of course, in the United States is tax day. So I wanted to just give you a quick top 10 list on tax tips and strategies that I think makes sense to share with you, especially doing what it is you do. Number 1, tax tip number 1, pay them. I know that might sound a little basic, but you do have to pay them, right? Remember, in the United States, taxes are due as you earn them. They're not due on April 15th. They're due as you earn them. And for independent contractors or self-employed persons like most of you are, that means that you actually owe taxes every single time you have a closing. To simplify things, however, the government has given us 4 set dates, known as quarterly tax payments, payment dates throughout the year, so that we can collect those payments and give them to them 4 times, right? Your money is due if you haven't paid it on the 15th of April. Please note, there is a common misconception that, because I ask people all the time, are you current on your taxes? I mean, not strangers, but like in coaching scenarios, right? I asked the checkout person at Stop and Shop the other day, hi, thanks, are you current on your taxes? No, I'm kidding. So the idea is, and I get answers back all the time that say, well, I sort of am, but I filed an extension. Okay, filing an extension doesn't relieve you from the obligation of paying your taxes on time on April 15th, right? So recognize that all of those things that maybe you've been working with in the past, you need to kind of get a handle on when your taxes are due. They are due for you quarterly, or I should say for most of you, right? If you're not a W-2 employee, they are due quarterly. And so that brings us to tax tip number 2. Make sure that you are setting aside 30% of every single paycheck that you get, right? When you have a closing, not all of that money is yours. And you've got you've got to create a discipline around recognizing that, with all due respect, the government doesn't care that you need that money. It's not yours, it's theirs. So when you have a closing, have a separate account, carve out 30% and automatically move it to that account. I encourage that account to be someplace else other than the bank that you keep the rest of your money in. My tax account is in the cloud. So boom, I push it up to the cloud. And then in order for me to access that money, it takes 3 to 4 days if I have to transfer money to get that money back out. So I don't have immediate access to it. So it just sits there and accumulates. And then a week before taxes are due, 4 times a year, January, April, June, and September, I move the money and pay my quarterlies, right? So just create that habit. Just create that habit. Number 3, read the book Tax-Free Wealth by Tom Wheelwright. Tax-Free Wealth by Tom Wheelwright. That is a great, great book. It's a great reference point. I will be honest with you, some of it gets a little bit heady. Some of it I kind of started to glaze over a little bit and said, okay, this is why I have a good accountant. And yet a lot of it is very specific and has really excellent strategies for self-employed persons, like most of you, and investors, right? Many of you on this call are both. And the reality is the tax code is written favorably for business owners and investors. So you need to know what all those benefits are if you don't already. So read that book. Don't think that because you have a good accountant, that your accountant has read that book. I actually went back to my accountant and said, have you read this book? He said no. So we asked him to read it. Tax-Free Wealth by Tom Wheelwright. Somebody can pop it in the chat. Number 4, for 2020, really important, don't forget your home office deduction. Most of you worked at home most of the time for most of 2020. And so even if you don't normally take a home office deduction, you may well qualify for a home office deduction in 2020 because of the scenario that you were put in. Again, for all of this, talk to your accountant, talk to your accountant, talk to your accountant to get details. However, I don't want you to forget that even if you maintained an office in one of our offices, you probably spent more time at home than you did in the office, especially during our closure period. So talk to your accountant about how you can work the home office deduction for 2020. Number 5, deduct everything. Deduct everything. Remember, as business owners, you get to deduct things that a lot of other people, other mere mortals, don't get to deduct, right? Like what? Well, I don't know. How about the Zoom account you pay for business? How about productivity coaching or other coaching that you pay for? How about mileage or actual use of your car? How about if you buy leads from someplace? Did you buy a new phone or a new computer? Did you work at home and have a computer connected to the internet? Well, what about that internet charge? Talk to your accountant, right? A lot of that starts to filter into becoming deductions because you're using it for business purposes. Your health insurance premiums, every penny you spend to market listings, meals if they were related to being out with buyers or meeting with sellers, right? Some of you weren't meeting in the office and you weren't meeting in homes. Maybe you met at Starbucks. Every dollar counts. And so don't forget about all those things. KW costs, you have affiliation costs with the market center, right? Your tech fee, your E&O insurance premium every year, your board of realtor dues, your license costs, education costs. How many of you went to family reunion, right? So all of those things, make sure that you have them on a list and get them to your accountant. Deduct everything legally possible. Number 6, profit share. For those of you who profit share, don't forget that you get a 1099 for profit share. If you earned less than $600, you likely don't have a 1099. Talk to your accountant, but less than $600, I don't believe you have to necessarily report. However, if it was over $600, you should have received a 1099. And if you didn't, you can go on to My KW And in either technology or resources, you can print an online version of your 1099. Just don't forget that when you're delivering that information to your accountant. Number 7, for 2020 especially, unemployment and PPP. If you received unemployment, most unemployment is taxable. So make sure that you have that information ready for your accountant, right? And work with him or her to make sure that you're maximizing that opportunity. If you received a PPP loan or EIDL loan in 2020, most of that money is not going to be taxable, right? It's more of a balance sheet item for you, and your accountant will kind of wash it in and wash it out on your tax return. Just make sure that they know that you received the money, what you did with it, and if it was forgiven, right? And so talk with them about those two things. Number 8, make sure that you have tax advantage savings vehicles like a SEP or an IRA, right? Make sure you're pushing as much money as you can into those each year. It's not only a good idea for retirement, every dime that you put in there, you don't pay tax on, as long as you have the right vehicle set up, you don't pay tax on, and it reduces your tax burden. So make sure that you speak to your accountant or financial planner about those opportunities. Number 9, a reminder about Section 179. What is that, you might ask? Well, that's a code about depreciation in the tax, a line item in the tax code about depreciation. So for example, if you bought a new car and you use your car for business, a large portion of that car, depending on your accountant's advice, could be deductible in the year you purchase it. Section 179 basically says, instead of depreciating large assets over a long period of time, it's called accelerated depreciation. They're going to give you a better tax bump right up front and then depreciate the rest over time. So again, talk with your accountant about Section 179 if you had large purchases. A car, maybe you bought Matterport equipment, maybe you bought video equipment this year because you were switching everything to video during the shifted 2020 year. Any large purchase may be able to be deducted in whole or in part in the year you purchased it. Number 10, stop doing your own taxes. For those of you who are still doing your own taxes, unless you were an accountant before you were a real estate agent, I do not recommend that you continue to do your own taxes, because I can almost guarantee you that you're missing something. And what you'll pay a good accountant to produce your tax return for you is likely less than the savings that you will find in additional deductions or less taxes paid. So remember that as business owners, your returns are more complicated. They just are. It's the way it is, right? So hire a professional, and hire a professional who has real estate experience. You want somebody who is understanding of all the things that happen in our world. And if you want some recommendations, just reach out. We'd be happy to share with you who many of us use for that. So there's my top 10 list. Want a bonus?
Rick?
Yes, Paul.
Sorry, I was going to throw in 11th.
Yeah, go ahead.
So this is the year to buy your good software to do your accounting, to keep track of all your expenses, because you have the money and now's the time to learn. So no more little scraps of paper in a box.
Yeah, I love that, right? So utilize software to make sure you're not missing anything, because it's easy to lose scraps of paper. It's just an app on your phone that you just boom, 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 and make sure that you collect everything. So there's Paul's bonus. I'm going to give you one last bonus and then we're out. My last bonus is this. It's a mindset bonus. Adopt a new mindset around taxes. And here's what I mean by that. It's easy to think of taxes as something negative. And when Debbie and I sit with our accountants each year, he says the same thing to us every single year. The numbers might be big in terms of the taxes you have to pay, and yet think of what it means if the opposite were true. It means you didn't make any money, right? So take a new mindset around taxes. And what I want you to do is be excited for the legal taxes that you pay and pay every penny that you are legally obligated to pay. However, make sure that you're taking every opportunity to legally exclude every dollar that you can from a tax burden, right? There are lots of things that we all can and should be doing to reduce our tax burdens that are completely and utterly written into the tax code that we either don't know about or think maybe we shouldn't. I'm here to tell you your mindset should be, I am more than happy to pay every dollar of taxes that I am legally obligated to pay and not a penny more. So let's work towards a new mindset around taxes, be excited about them, and reduce the burden as much as we possibly can. Guys, I hope that's helpful for you. Reach out if you have any other questions. Have an awesome day today. Remember, we have lots of awesome trainings today, tomorrow for you to plug into, and we will see you tomorrow at 9 o'clock back bright and early. Have a great day. Take care.